Hello, RTDNA judges. My name is Mike Omelas. I'm the Vice President of National News and News Gathering for Global News. I'm based in Toronto, representing the second largest private television network in Canada. And before we get into our entry for the Innovation Award for RTDNA, we wanted to tell you a little bit about why we're entering this new production model, which we think revolutionizes television production. To the best of our knowledge, no one around the world is innovating in this fashion the way we are, and it's produced some really concrete results for Global News across the country. The model allows us to record stories in chunks as they are ready for recording, and online gets access to them earlier. But it's not a recorded newscast per se, because it's being played out in real time in chunks on a server, and it's being overseen by a producer for that local market who can manipulate the lineup as late as 3 seconds prior to an item being played on air and being seen by viewers. We can interrupt the playlist, go live when need be, but not live just for live's sake. If we need to go live to multiple markets, we can do so simultaneously. What we're presenting for your consideration for the RTDNA's inaugural Innovation Award is a newscast that we did in Saskatchewan the night that there were some terrible shootings at a school in a native community called La Loche. We are so pleased that our local teams in our 2 markets that serve the province were able to generate 18 minutes of local compelling content on this horrific school shooting that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to do under our previous model. As a result of our innovation, Global News now, today, in 2017, has more feet on the street than at any time in its history. Thank you for your consideration of our entry.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Angie Seth. Crystal is away tonight. Well, there's been a deadly and tragic situation in northern Saskatchewan. A shooting in La Loche has left at least 4 people dead and a number of others wounded.
Now, this incident has rocked the tiny community of about 3,000 and stunned people across the country. Jamie Dahl has more on what happened.
Remote, tight-knit, a community where everybody knows everyone. Tonight, residents of La Loche are numb.
Everybody's shocked, everybody's shocked.
4 people are dead, many injured after a shooting in the northern Saskatchewan town. Police are investigating 2 scenes. Sources say one is at a home, the other at the La Loche Community High School, where a shooter walked into the building after the lunch hour and opened fire. Noah Lemeg is among the injured. We reached his aunt on the phone.
Some kids yelled out that they're loading the gun, but they thought that the kid was lying, so they kind of ignored it, because usually our town's not like that. So they thought they were lying, so they let it be, and then the shooting started. Some of the kids, they ran out of the building through the back doors, and some of them they hid. My nephew was the first one to be shot. He ran right away and to the hospital, and when he got on the road, somebody gave him a ride to the hospital.
Lemeg has been airlifted to hospital in Saskatoon, along with others critically wounded.
We have 1 male in custody. Public safety is no longer at risk, and we have secured the firearm.
The community is banding together tonight, doing the only thing they can.
We're just going to be gathering around and praying and stuff, I guess. That's what we usually do, get together and pray.
Jamie Dahl, Global News.
Now, earlier this evening, La Loche RCMP held a press conference and read a statement about the shooting. They also took a number of questions from the media. Take a look.
Members attended to the La Loche Community School at the RTDNA High School. Investigators immediately began searching for a suspect, and at 1:47 p.m., 1 male was taken into custody outside of the school and a firearm was secured. Investigators are currently present at 2 locations in La Loche, the first one being the 300 block of RTDNA Crescent and the second, RTDNA High School. The public is asked to not attend these locations at this time. Initial information was that there were 5 deaths as a result of this tragedy. At this time, I can confirm that 4 individuals are deceased. I cannot release the identity of the victims as the investigation is ongoing. In addition to those confirmed deceased, a number of people have been injured. We do not have that information about the type or extent of their injuries. Thankfully, the lockdown has been lifted and children have been moved to a safe location within the community of La Loche. I want to emphasize tonight that there's no risk to public safety at this time. We will continue to provide updates as they become available. I am prepared to take questions, but please keep in mind that this is an ongoing investigation and I am limited as to what I can tell you. This is truly a tragedy for the families, the community of La Loche, and the citizens of Saskatchewan. Our hearts and prayers are with all those affected, and we are a part of your community and we will be there with you. And thank you.
So could you just confirm there were 5 people that were killed, is that right, and 2 that were in critical condition? Are they still in the hospital?
I can confirm the initial reports that there were 5 deceased. However, at the present time, there is 4 individuals deceased as a result of this tragedy, and there are other injuries and they're being treated by healthcare professionals at this time.
How many other injuries?
I'm not sure at this time. We are liaising with our health partners in the north.
So there are 4 dead then, is that right?
That is correct.
So where did the miscommunication come between 5 and 4?
This was very early onset of the investigation. There was a tremendous amount of information that we were given, and with a tragedy such as this, there's a lot of information going back and forth very quickly. And so initially we thought we confirmed that there were 5, but right now there's only 4 deceased.
So there's no confirmation of
Can you
how
say
many
were they male and female, or can you give any information about the ages?
I cannot give any information about their sex or their ages. We're early onset of our investigation and we want to ensure the integrity of the investigation, so I cannot give you that right now.
Can we get one more question from someone else on the phone, please? Perfect. Okay, we will move to questions in the room, please.
Where were the victims airlifted to?
My understanding is that the victims were airlifted to the University Hospital in Saskatoon, but I cannot confirm that.
Where did all of the shootings happen? I'm wondering if it was all in the school or were there victims found outside of the school?
We have 2 ongoing investigative sites in La Loche, and the first one was already articulated, but I'll refresh it for everyone. The first one was at we're investigating a matter at 300 block on DNA Crescent in La Loche, and the second one, the DNA High School.
Is that 300 block the location of the shooter's residence?
The only thing I can say is that we have 2 active investigations ongoing. In order to maintain the integrity of our investigation, we're at the early onset of it, that I cannot disclose any information because we want to make sure that we have a very solid investigation.
Do we know though how many of these?
Is that a
Do we know
residence
how many?
though, in fact? Like that's a house? That first
The only thing I'm going to confirm, we're at the 300 block of DNA Crescent in La Loche.
What can you tell us about the shooter? That can confirm that they are in custody? Any details? When do you expect charges? That kind of
I can
thing?
tell you that we have 1 male in custody. Public safety is no longer at risk, and we have secured the firearm.
How old is
And,
he?
I'm not going to comment on that. Our investigation is ongoing.
Is he a youth?
I'm not going to comment on that. Our investigation is ongoing.
For the people that are deceased, do we know how many of them may have been children or how many are staff?
As I said earlier on, our investigation is in the early onset, so I cannot release that type of information because that could, we have to maintain the integrity of our investigation, so I will not answer questions like that.
And you can't say anything about unconfirmed reports of the shooter being related to any of the victims?
I cannot.
What do you say to I've heard rumors that there was a group chat of some sort where the shooter said he was on his way to the high school to start shooting.
I don't have any information to that at all.
Yes, in regards to the firearm that was used, can you give any information on that? Was it a rifle? Was it an illegal shotgun? Was it?
As I said earlier on, our investigation is at the onset. So So an investigation is ongoing, and I can't compromise the integrity of the investigation, so I can't comment on matters such as that. And I know everybody is tremendously interested in it, and I can really appreciate that. But at the end of the day, I have to make sure that we have a very solid investigation, and I have to keep that within the RCMP.
Is the school still in lockdown?
As I said, the lockdown has been lifted, and the children have been moved to a safe location within the community.
Can you give us an indication over the next 24, 48 hours the work of the RCMP? Are you putting extra officers to help with the investigation in La Loche? Do you have people on the ground there? How many officers? Anything you can tell us about what happens next?
I can tell you that we have specialized police personnel on site, major crimes, forensic identification, section specialists, general duty members, police dog services. I will not tell you the amount of members that are in that community for safety reasons, obviously. And I'm going to close.
More than usual, obviously.
Yes, we have additional resources in the community right now, given the tragedy. But the one thing, and I'm going to leave after this question, is I want to make sure everybody's absolutely sure that the public safety is no longer at risk.
But are the kids back home, or you said they're in a safe location? Were they able to return back to their parents?
I'm not sure. I don't have that answer for you.
Is there anything else at all that you can tell us about the victims, about whether this is, or about the nature of the shooting, about the weapon, anything at all? Because this is all what is basically in the press release. Also curious why you can't tell us that aside from preserving the integrity of the investigation.
Because our investigation is at the beginning. And I know a lot of information would like to be shared, but I have to maintain the integrity of the investigation. I will tell you that we have our specialists on site, handling the investigation. We have additional personnel up there, and we're doing everything that we can to make sure that this is a great investigation.
And the high school is outside of La Loche, it's not in the town of La Loche.
I can't answer that question, but if you would like to, for me to get that answer to you, I gladly will.
How many officers do you usually have up there?
This is the last question, everyone? Yeah, because I'm looking at a group chat apparently that just said, just killed 2 PPL, about to shoot up the school. Did you get this information beforehand, and were you not even finding any of that out?
I did not have that knowledge. However, that can go to our investigative team to assess.
So you didn't get any heads up until after?
Jan, that'll be all for this evening.
Yeah.
Sorry, just one more question. Just
Sir,
in terms of
I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
As you can imagine, there's been plenty of political reaction to this shooting today. Leaders expressing their shock to what happened.
Obviously, this is every parent's worst nightmare. When I spoke with community leaders, they obviously expressed that the community is reeling, and all of us across this country's hearts are going out to the families and to the whole community.
I was at a meeting at the University of Regina this afternoon when the news broke, and obviously all of us are just horrified by these terrible events, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the community, to the families that have been affected. This is just so very, very sad and tragic for all of Saskatchewan, indeed all of Canada.
Saskatchewan's Premier echoed Goodale's comments, saying, "Words cannot express my shock and sorry at the horrific events today." A similar statement from neighboring Alberta Premier Rachel Notley, adding, "We know how closely knit First Nations communities are. We share in this tragedy as parents, educators, and friends." And one of the most poignant comments perhaps coming from the U.S. ambassador to Canada. Quote, "We have experienced similar tragedies far too often in the U.S. and understand all too well the heartache and sadness." Now we'll continue to follow this story for you throughout the newscast. Coming up a little later, we'll head back to La Loche for the very latest. And of course, for all the updates, you can log on to our website, globalnews.ca.
Time now to get our first look at the forecast as we look ahead to the weekend. Let's check in with our weather specialist, Mike Arsenault. Hey, Mike.
Angie, Anthony, here's a look at the stats on today. Well above seasonal. In fact, the high temperature of -1. Right around the freezing mark. Should be -10 at this time of the year, a low near -20. We saw a low of -12 today. There is a snowfall warning north of Saskatoon, north of Prince Albert as well, looking at between 10 and 15 centimeters of snow.
Welcome back. Another look at our top story tonight and the deadly shooting in the northern Saskatchewan community of La Loche.
Now, at least 4 people have been killed. Jacqueline Wilson is in La Loche. She has this update.
Yes, I'm here outside the La Loche Community High School where allegedly today around 1 p.m. a suspect walked in and began to open fire. Now in the school is grade 7 to grade 12 students, and I did talk to a teacher earlier today that said that the school wasn't locked down for about 2 to 3 hours. Now we don't know a lot about the suspect, but what we do know is that police have taken him into custody and the firearm in question has been seized, so the public isn't in any danger. As for the victims, it is confirmed that 4 people have died and 2 are seriously injured, but none have been identified yet. You know, La Loche is such a small community, and obviously something like this terrible event really does hit them hard. They were having a memorial earlier where candles were being lit and prayers were being said. Now, as information comes forward, we will keep you updated. Back to you.
Gas prices in Saskatoon are hitting levels not seen since 2008. Now, according to GasBuddy.com, the average price of regular gas in Saskatoon is 71.5 cents per litre. Welcome back. Now we want to return to our top story in that tragic situation in La Loche.
Now, a gunman has shot and killed at least 4 people in the tiny community. Jacqueline Wilson is in La Loche for us. Jacqueline, walk us through what happened.
Thanks. Yes, around 1 o'clock today, it is known that a suspect walked into the La Loche Community High School and opened fire. Now, it is quite a close-knit community. We know that between the 2 buildings, the 2 schools, that about 900 students go to school here. In the RTDNA building, which is the one where the shooting did occur, it houses about grade 7 to grade 12 students. So those are the students there. Now, before the suspect made his way into the gym, we do know that he went to a residence and opened fire there. We know that there are 4 victims in total possible and 2 serious injuries. The identities haven't been confirmed for any of those, but all of the community has come together and they really are reeling. There is quite a vigil here, maybe about 100 people from the community saying prayers. So really devastating for such a close community.
So Jacqueline, talk to us just a little bit more about the community. Community of about 3,000. I mean, this has really hit them quite hard.
It really has. You know what? We originally heard that there's about 3,000 people, maybe up to 5,000 in the surrounding areas. And when we first arrived, there wasn't too many people here, just about 1 lone candle. But after a while, there was about 80 to 100 people on scene, and they were all praying together in unison. People were in tears. They were talking about the victims, who we haven't confirmed, but they were saying that they were kind and they were involved in school. And that for such a close-knit community, something like this happening, it seems like it's something almost out of a movie. Honestly, they really could not believe that it had happened.
Now, Jacqueline, we heard from the RCMP a short time ago. This is from a press conference earlier this evening. Quite tight-lipped when it came to the information, but what are you hearing? Do we know what precipitated this in the first place?
So we can't confirm exactly what precipitated it, but what we do know is that people are talking that bullying sometimes here in northern Saskatchewan is a problem. We don't know a motive whatsoever, but they're saying that maybe there's a chance that the victims were related. That's why they're saying it wasn't a random shooting. So the suspect probably did target people he knew and also may have been a student here at the RTDNA Community High School. And the people who he came in for were between, like I said, grade 7 and grade 12. So we aren't sure of a motive, but, you know, we talked to close family members, and the suspect did have kind of a nickname as Ears here in the community.
Well, just a really devastating situation. Jacqueline, thank you so much for this. This is Jacqueline Wilson reporting to us from La Loche.
Tanya Herman is from the town of La Loche and says her nephew was among those who were shot, but he managed to get away. She describes the scene as students realized what was going on.
Some kids yelled out that they're loading the gun, but they thought that the kid was lying, so they kind of ignored it, because usually our town's not like that. So they thought like they were lying, so they let it be, and then the shooting started. some of the kids, they ran out of the building through the back doors, and some of them, they hit. My nephew was the first one to be shot, so he ran right away and to the hospital, and when he got on the road, somebody gave him a ride to the hospital.
Her nephew, Noah Lemeg, has been airlifted to hospital in Saskatoon, along with others who were critically wounded.
Now, earlier this evening, La Loche RCMP held a press conference and read a statement about the shooting. In it, they confirmed there were 4 fatalities and not 5, as was reported earlier. Here's what they had to say.
Members attended to the La Loche Community School at the DNA High School. Investigators immediately began searching for a suspect, and at 1:47 p.m., one male was taken into custody outside of the school and a firearm was secured. Investigators are currently present at 2 locations in La Loche, the first one being the 300 block of DNA Crescent and the second, DNA High School. The public is asked to not attend these locations at this time. Initial information was that there were 5 deaths as a result of this tragedy. At this time, I can confirm that 4 individuals are deceased. I cannot release the identity of the victims as the investigation is ongoing. In addition to those confirmed deceased, a number of people have been injured. We do not have that information about the type or extent of their injuries. Thankfully, the lockdown has been lifted and children have been moved to a safe location within the community of La Loche. I want to emphasize tonight that there's no risk to public safety at this time. We will continue to provide updates as they become available. I am prepared to take questions, but please keep in mind that this is an ongoing investigation and I am limited as to what I can tell you. This is truly a tragedy for the families, the community of La Loche, and the citizens of Saskatchewan. Our hearts and prayers are with all those affected, and we are a part of your community and we will be there with you. And thank you.
Well, an unexpected health crisis has motivated a local family to give back to the community that stood by their side.
Now, the young child of a Saskatoon couple was diagnosed with cancer over Christmas. Megan Craig has more on the family's journey.
Welcome back. Now we want to recap our top story for you tonight. There's been a deadly shooting in the remote town of La Loche, Saskatchewan.
Now, at least 4 people have been killed. However, there is no information yet on the victims or even the number of injuries. What we know is that police received a call about a gunman at the La Loche Community School at about 1 p.m. local time. Witnesses say the shooter opened fire on people inside and outside the school.
Then about 45 minutes later, police had a male suspect in custody. Police say the community is no longer in danger. Now, Global News will continue to stay on top of the story for you throughout the night.
Now, for all the latest information, you can head to our website, globalnews.ca, and make sure you tune in tomorrow for all the updates on this story. That's it for us tonight.
Thanks for watching.